The amount of damage a product owner can do in the 15 minutes of a daily scrum is unbelievable. I get this question a lot. What should a product owner do and not do in the daily scrum? Should the product owner even attend this event, the daily scrum? You get the answers to all these questions in this video and much more. Let's start with answering the most common question I get about the daily scrum. Should the product owner attend the daily scrum? As per the Scrum Guide 2020, the daily scrum is a 15-minute event for the developers of a Scrum team to reduce complexity. It is held at the same time and place every working day of a sprint. If a product owner or the Scrum Master are actively working on items in the sprint backlog, they participate as developers. According to this sentence, it's not that the product owner should or should not attend the daily scrum. It's that they don't need to attend the daily scrum if you're not currently working on items in the sprint backlog, sort of acting as developers. It's pretty clear. So why is there so much confusion around this question? Well, later in the Scrum Guide, it says the daily scrums improve communications, identify impediments, promote quick decision making, and consequently eliminate the need for other meetings. Promoting quick decision making is an essential reason why we hold the daily scrum, especially when these decisions involve changing priorities in the sprint backlog, in the product backlog. You can't do that without the product owner. So the answer to the question is yes. Even if a product owner is not currently working on items in the sprint backlog, acting as a developer, the product owner should attend the daily scrum simply for quick decision making, changing priorities of a sprint backlog, of a product backlog. And the product owner is also part of a Scrum team. Responsible and accountable to deliver a working software, a working increment at the end of every single sprint. They are part of a team, they are responsible. What does it say to the way you run the daily scrum, when one member of a Scrum team is not allowed to attend the daily scrum? Now that we agreed that the product owner should join the daily scrum, let's talk about the problems. Number one, the micromanaging product owner. Let me give you a simple scenario. A daily scrum. David joins the daily scrum together with the other developers. 1 minute after joining, silence in the room. 1 minute after joining, David, can we just start? Stacy, the Scrum Master, says, let's just wait 1 or 2 more minutes. Waiting for Joe to join. Joe is the product owner. David mentions that Joe is always late to these meetings. 2 minutes later, Joe joins. Indeed, he joins late. He's like 5 minutes late now. Joe excuses himself for being late and just says, okay, David, can we just start it? Can we just start the daily scrum? What is your update for today? David says, yes, sure. Yesterday I worked on the API to retrieve a location of a user, and today I'm planning to complete it. But what should I work on next? I don't know what to work on next. Joe says that he thinks that we should work on the ingestion part, the ingestion feature next, and that David can get the help of Philip to work on this feature. David says that I wasn't planning to work on that now, but I can consider that. I think I can work on that later today. What's the issue here? Well, there's quite a few issues here. But the main ones are, first, the developers didn't start the daily scrum without the product owner. It's their session. Why do they need to wait for the product owner to join prior to starting? Second, the product owner assigning work to the developers. And third, the developers are not self-managed. They need to ask the product owner what to do in the sprint to know what's next. They should be self-managed. They should be deciding on themselves what to work on, who should be working on what, who needs help. A micromanaging product owner gets into every little details the developers do. Remember, a Scrum team should be self-managed. They decide what to build, how to build it, who builds it, and by when to build it. The product owner should decide the what, why we are doing it, and what we are doing. The rest, how to build it, by when to build it, and who builds it. This is for the developers to decide. When a product owner is a micro-managing product owner, he decides how to do it. Assigns work, decides who does it. That kills innovation and prevents the Scrum team from being self-managed. It's an impediment that the Scrum Master should work on fixing. Another thing that I see very often during the daily Scrum is a product owner constantly asking the team, why are we so slow? Why are items not moving to done faster? Why are you peeps so slow? That's a product owner which is focusing on the velocity, the plan to do metrics, all these output-driven metrics instead of focusing on the outcome metrics, the value, the actual value to customers. This is what the product owner should focus on. Let the developers focus on all these output metrics. As a product owner, focus on these outcome metrics instead. Number 2, the status report daily Scrum. In the previous versions of the Scrum Guide, the daily Scrum was very prescriptive. Remember the 3 questions. What did I do yesterday? What will I do today? Anything blocking me from achieving my goal for today? The 3 questions were in the Scrum Guide, in the daily Scrum section. Now with the latest version of the Scrum Guide 2020, this is gone. Now, the developers have the freedom that they need to do the daily Scrum as they wish to do it. And that's great because the developers can now decide which technique, which structure they want to use in the daily Scrum. As long as you're respecting the outcome of the daily Scrum meeting, crafting a plan for the day, how can we collaborate together today to get closer to the sprint goal? You can use anything you want in the daily Scrum. Not get stuck in this 3-question mindset that can lead to the status reporting. Status reporting simply meaning, what will I do today? What's my current status of a task I'm currently working on and how to move forward? This might seem like an okay format, but why are you sharing this information? Are you sharing this information only for the sake of sharing this information? Or are you sharing this information to get closer to the sprint goal or crafting a plan together? That was the problem with the status reporting format. And it's even worse when the product owner, a micromanaging product owner, starts to get involved, asking for status updates from the Scrum Master or the developers in the daily Scrum. Why does the product owner need this information? Is sharing this information helping the team craft a plan for the day? If it's not, shouldn't be in the daily Scrum. Everything in the daily Scrum should help the team. How can we collaborate together? How can we craft a plan together for the day to get closer to the sprint goal? If something in the daily Scrum is not helping this, kick it out of the daily Scrum. That's what the micromanaging product owner needs to understand. And when people are giving their updates or talking in the daily Scrum, shouldn't be directed to the Scrum Master or the product owner. No, the developers or anyone else in the daily Scrum should be talking to the team. We are all at the same level here. In the Scrum framework, there's no hierarchy in terms of like a product owner is better than the developers. No. Everyone is same level, and in the daily Scrum, it should be this way. Number 3, new requests. Another mistake that I see product owners do is sharing their ideas in the daily Scrum. I know it's hard to keep it for yourself. You got a brilliant idea, and you want to share it with the team in the daily Scrum. But that's not the forum to do that. That's not the event to do that. You should share that in the refinement sessions instead. Your new ideas, your brilliant ideas. If you share that in the daily Scrum, that might prevent the team from crafting a plan for the day to get closer to the sprint goal. That might distract the developers and the team from doing that. So please don't share your new ideas in the daily Scrum. Wait for the refinement sessions, which should happen frequently in the week, to share these brilliant ideas so that you don't distract people in the team from getting closer to a sprint goal. Now that we've talked about all the things that the product owner shouldn't do in the daily Scrum, what should the product owner actually do in the daily Scrum? Well, a simple mindset for that. The product owner should join, act as if in the daily Scrum as an observer only. And there's a benefit to that. Remember, we already agreed that the product owner should join the daily Scrum. Else it would be a them against us mentality. No, we are all in the same team, in the Scrum team. And the product owner is part of the team. So the product owner should join the daily Scrum to be part of this team, synergized in the team. But still, as an observer, I like using the example of you going to eat somewhere and sitting at the chef's table. So the chef is cooking your meal and you're just observing. You're not commenting directly with the chef on the things that the chef is doing, or you're not giving advice to the chef. No, you're letting the chef own his skills, his knowledge to prepare the perfect meal for you. And you observe and then you eat the meal. And same should apply for the product owner's role in the daily scrum. Remember, the product owner can just decide not to go, but we already said that it makes sense for them to attend the daily scrum as an observer. And it's really good to get an update on what's happening in the team also, and you see progress so that you can share these updates with other stakeholders also. And also, the most important part is prioritizing things, making decisions in the daily scrum, and also helping the team, answering questions, anything that can make the developers craft a plan for the day to get closer to the sprint goal. Which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.